We're live. Okay. So here, we're going to do the intro in the beginning, different than usual. Okay. This is one of my family podcasts. I think we're going to call it Family and Podcasts or something. I am very grateful that one of the most awesome people I know in the world, Chananya Bacher, who happens to be my nephew, and we have a lot of great schmoozes, and I thoroughly enjoy him, and I've loved him since he's a tiny little adorable baby. Maybe we could talk about that. If anybody in the audience knows how much I love being an uncle and a father, so talking to anybody in my family that I love is important to me. So this should be a conversation about that, and we're gonna let you start the questions.
I'm gonna start by saying,
Chananya.
I want to get it on record. I'm your favorite nephew by far, and I want all the other cousins to hear that.
That's what you want to say?
That's what I want to say.
Is that a question or a statement?
That's a statement.
Okay.
That's a statement.
So I have a very different type of answer.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm podcast. And now, your host, Sony Perlman.
Okay. It's an answer to my statement.
I love all my nephews and nieces the same.
You've been trained well.
I will never come out and say anything like that in public. That's ridiculous.
Right.
Okay. That was your question?
That was my statement.
Well, that was a statement.
Yeah.
Okay. For context for everybody else, it is 12:30 at night on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a lot to talk about. We're starting with politics. No, we're talking about politics. But it happens to be Israel bombed Iran today.
Yeah. Exciting news.
So you're involved because
I'm
you're
on
in Israel.
Israel's side. I side with Israel.
You side with Israel.
Yep.
The poor Iranians are getting
Live in
bombed.
Israel. I side with Israel.
Okay, that's good. Okay, it's a big statement.
Yeah.
I wear a Magen David. Yeah. Okay, so here's the question. You ready?
Hit me.
I have spent a lot of time trying, and you lived in the other side of the world, but I've spent a lot of time trying to be a super uncle and care about you guys and let you know that I care about you and love you. How has that affected your life? Or has it affected your life in any way?
Of course.
While I eat some pineapples. On family episodes, we could eat.
Nice. I think probably the biggest way that's affected me being so close with my uncles and my aunts. I think like no matter what I went through, I always had you guys as my vision of like, you guys were like my goals of what I wanted to get to. So like no matter how deep I got, no matter how bad it was, I always knew I'd get out of it because like I had that as a goal, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
Specifically me or other people?
I think you definitely played a big part.
Okay.
But it's a bit of everybody. Everybody's super special in the family.
So you saw it as there's a possibility of having.
I don't think my goal
life
is to be anybody in particular. I think the goal is, being emotionally healthy, mentally healthy for the most part.
Right.
Having a beautiful family, and I always had that in the back of my mind as something that I wanted. So I never allowed myself to go so deep into what I was doing, if it was bad.
Right.
I didn't.
What were you doing? What do you want to share here? What
No, I'm just saying, like I never did, like in terms of, let's say drugs. I never did anything that would, could be life threatening. I never did something that I can get addicted to that could harm me physically. Because I always knew that at some point I'm gonna want this, family and the life and that, and so I never did anything like that. I always stuck to the
boundaries.
But also the less harmful, still super harmful drugs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you coming out here and talking about drugs? Like,
No,
right
no,
off
no,
the
no.
bat?
That was
We'll leave it on the side.
yeah.
No, I'm kidding. We can bring it back. But that's a very cool thing you're saying. You're saying, I'm always focused on the support makes you believe, hey, I'm cared about, I'm loved, I could be fine. You're saying even more, or maybe differently, that knowing that you have people to look up to, role models in your life, you're like, I could be all right. Was it also that you knew that some of your uncles and aunts have gone through a lot themselves?
I think even knowing, let's say, like.
So I don't like this generality. I want to talk about me. It's my podcast.
We could talk about you.
Well,
We could talk about you. I'm saying when I look at you, and I used to come to your apartment in Brooklyn. There was 2 bedrooms. There was rats around the place. It was tiny.
Excuse me.
It was a gross place. It was amazing.
It was pretty small.
I sat and watched Sky High 400 times in a row.
That's true.
And
3
now
bedrooms,
look
by
at
the
you.
way.
You got a podcast. You know,
I moved on.
you got a podcast in a separate location to your beautiful house where you have your beautiful family. I mean, you had a beautiful family back then as well.
That's true. So you're saying, okay, so you're saying it was good. I've made it a little bit in the world, and you've watched
but it's not
that.
even financially. It's what you're doing. Like,
Right.
I think for a long time I felt very guilty about not doing something meaningful. So I looked at all my uncles and aunts and my mom and my dad, and everyone was doing some meaningful stuff. And I was just trying to like get a job. You know, I was like a barista, you know, and I was like always kicked myself for like, why am I not doing therapy or social work or anything like that? I'm like just trying to get some money, and then I look at you guys, and not everybody was always doing that. You know, it's a journey for everyone.
Right.
It's been a journey.
Do you still feel guilty about that?
Not at all.
Are you doing?
I found that thank God I found a way to separate myself from other people. You know, I had this with my late dad, where like I always felt that I had to push to be as great as he was,
Right.
and it weighed so heavy on me. Like it actually kept me back from getting anything done, because I was like, I'm never gonna get there. And
So
then
just the context for other people who don't know, your dad was Gabriel Klatsko.
right.
So you're saying you grew up kind of in the shadow of knowing this guy accomplished in his short life ridiculous things, which I'm saying to you again because I happen to believe that.
Right.
So you're like, I gotta do something that matches up to that. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. And then it weighed too heavy on me, and then I got to a point where I'm like, that's not what he wants from me. You know, he wants me to be me. And, you know, whether I'm a barista or I'm still loved, I'm still me, I'm still, you know, I can do meaningful stuff that's not necessarily my job, or through my job I can give tzedakah, or I can help out people, or I can, you know, it didn't have to necessarily be based around a career like the rest of my family.
Right.
You know?
There is a lot of, it's interesting, the way I grew up, and it trickled down to you guys, was like what you do as a profession is like a lot of your value, which I have rejected in recent years. Like I'm bothered by that idea. Like I'm very bothered by it. I think that telling anybody that their value is based on almost anything they do is weird to me.
I think your siblings, the big thing was going into doing something meaningful, and mine was do something that you could be successful, you know, make money. I think, yeah, we will always like.
But when did you come to the realization that you don't have to do something meaningful and just doing something to make money is fine? With that, like,
I still
type
want to
of
do meaningful
pressure.
stuff, but there's other ways to go.
No, but
about
meaning, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but I feel like it was specific to what you do, you know, with your time at work.
Right.
Originally.
Right.
Well, how did that shift?
I think I found that I was able to lead a meaningful life.
Chaim. Salchul Chaim.
I was able to lead a meaningful life, not by necessarily, you know, taking, like going to, I'm not a studier. I could never study. I was like, got kicked out of school and flunked everything. Hate studying. I'm like too ADD for it.
Right.
So I'm not going to go study psychology, you know. So I was like, hey, what can I do with what I'm given? You know, in that case, I'll take a job. But with that job, what am I able to do? You know, so I had a motto with like, I was working out a lot.
Right.
And yeah, I started to become very vain and always looking in the mirror and checking myself out and that. And then I hated it. I'm like, it was actually Hanukkah. And I was looking in the mirror and I'm like, man, I'm a Greek. I'm like a Greek. I'm a Greek person. You know, the Greeks were obsessed with the images.
Yavanim.
Yeah, they were obsessed with the images. And I was like, I went to my mom and I was like,
You know what they're obsessed with now? Salad. Okay, sorry.
that's good.
And they're also doing a fairly good job with yogurt.
Right.
That's
That's yogurt.
That's it.
Right.
The Greeks have given up their entire empire and focused fully on salad and yogurt. Okay, I'm just
Good
kidding.
news is if you eat those two things, you'll get pretty shredded.
You get shredded.
That's the key to that.
That's the key to the Greek Empire. They were like, let's get back to the basics. So, okay, so you thought like, oh my God, I'm one of the Yavanim.
Yeah. And I went to my mom and I'm like, I'm quitting working out. That's it. I'm done.
That's what you came up with?
That's what I came up with. And my mom was like, that's crazy. Don't do that. Try and make it meaningful. So I came up with the thing like, muscles are for mitzvahs. You know? And then I took on myself like, if anyone ever asked me to do something, to help them carry something, do anything, any opportunity that I get to do a mitzvah that they can't do because, you know.
Because muscles.
Yeah. Then I help them out. That's a short example of
Wait,
how I made
did you
something
make a
meaningful.
t-shirt? Like that would be a cool t-shirt.
Right. I wanted to make a gym with like on the wall it has in big like buses for mitzvahs and then there's no mirrors anywhere, you know. But I don't think people would come. I think it would just be me.
I don't know. It's funny with this. Like there is an obsession with mirrors in gyms.
Do you know what they do? They make it that you look extra big in the mirrors. They're able to adjust the mirror.
No way.
So you look double your size. You think you look the same in the mirror in the gym than you do at home in your mirror? No ways. And the lighting is always perfect in the gym.
Really?
Yeah. In most gyms.
I mean, everywhere I look ripped. Wherever I look,
Right.
I don't see any differences. That's funny. But you know, it's funny because I really grew up with some similar stuff to you, which I think it's a little crazy that you're so bothered by the fact that like you like to work out and look in the mirror. Like I don't know why it's so bad. I grew up like that too. That like everything has to be very, very meaningful.
Right.
And I think it's a lot of pressure.
Right.
And honestly, I tell you where it came out with me. Football. Watching football. Not your football. My football.
American football.
American football. None of the soccer junk.
Right.
This, by the way, he's South African if anybody's watching. So they don't call it soccer in
We
South
call it
Africa.
soccer in South Africa.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, fine. You're from Israel.
Right. Football.
Kadorregel.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right, whatever. Anyway, when I grew up, like watching football was the most meaningless thing you could ever do. And I remember the freedom when I was like, oh, I like watching a football game.
Right.
Now I didn't get till this year, I didn't like go for a team because I didn't grow that much.
Right.
But for me, for a lot of people, they're like working on how to have a more meaningful life. And I'm working on how to have a less meaningful
Right.
life.
That's funny. I still have the pressure on myself too.
Because it's very intense.
Yeah.
I grew up like every single thing has to be incredibly meaningful. Even this podcast, a lot of people come to me and they're like, this podcast is supposed to be about therapy and it's supposed to be about growth. And to me, in my childhood, I'm like, hey, take a chill. Maybe this is just about a conversation between two people. And a conversation between two people is epic. And that's what we should be shooting for. Just great conversations between two people.
Right.
I think that's enough.
It's meaningful.
But I'm telling you, I grew up in an
I don't want to ruin it
environment
for
where
you, but
that's
that
not
could be
enough.
meaningful.
I think that's meaningful. That's what I'm trying to say. What you working out in the gym, feeling good at the end of the day, and looking at your muscles might be meaningful.
Right. It might be meaningful to me.
Right. But it might not the way I grew up, that's not meaningful. What are you doing? You're being vain. You should be doing out there helping other people. You should be doing,
Right.
like even your ideas of like what meaningful is, like therapy.
Right.
There's so many other things.
Every single person in my family is a therapist.
They're all therapists.
Yeah.
Right. So it's funny because I have some of the same stuff as you, but I'm like heading in the other direction where I'm like, I think everything I do, it's a little bit of a Hasidic thought. Like if you're under a car, like twisting a nut to fix the oil tank or whatever you're doing under the car. I don't know how to fix cars, so that might not have made any sense. But that's your way of contributing to this world. That's meaningful. That's a Hasidic thought, I think.
I like it.
I'm saying that was what Baal Shem Tov was saying. Like, you are meaningful. If you do things with good intention, you're meaningful.
Right.
So you're saying, like, you make it muscles, what was it? Mitzvahs, muscles?
Muscles are for mitzvahs.
Muscles are for mitzvahs.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's a similar thing. I'm trying to make my life much less meaningful.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, so I think that, yeah, you pointed it out. That is meaningful. A conversation between two people, even if we talk about football, is meaningful.
Right.
I remember, I'll give you another example. I always thought money was evil. I grew up with that idea. Money is evil, and people who have money are evil. Like, that's evil. It's a crazy idea.
Right.
And I think it's such a crazy idea because I also grew up with the idea that everything is both good and bad. So for some reason, money got into the category of that's evil. Like power and money, that's evil. And we got to fight against the system. And I heard Rabbi Lappin, he has a podcast, dying. I'm going to get him on one day, hopefully. He's awesome. And he was talking about how money is a way for two people to share something with each other. That just giving over money to someone else connects people. And if it's done properly, it's a very spiritual thing.
Right.
Because in the old days, if I had eggs and you had potatoes and we both wanted what each other wanted, then it would work. But now money, I could walk over to you and give you money and get anything you have, right, which makes industry wild. I could connect with people in a million different ways and get what I need. So all of a sudden, my whole life is like, money's terrible. I'll never make money. That's when I started this field. I was like, there's no way that I should be making money. Anybody who charged too much money for something, I was like upset at them. Right. Like, you should be doing this and be poor and be living in a house in Brooklyn with a tiny little house, tiny little apartment. And that is like the ideal. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, same God that made everything meaningful, made a potential for money. You could make money and help people, and none of it's, if you want to hear how crazy I am, the idea of having money seemed not meaningful to me.
Right.
And now it seems plenty meaningful.
Right.
Like, you can make money and do wonderful things with money.
Yeah.
And also, it's funny because people I live that way, but the same people who live that way were asking people with money for money because they had no money.
Yes.
Like, but they're living like the coal system, or they're living poor. And anyway, so I don't know. I'm going in the opposite direction.
Right. I think it's possible to make anything meaningful. Anything.
Right. But I'm trying to say is that everything is meaningful, and it's just about what's inside your heart. So that's what you're saying.
Everything has potential to be meaningful.
Right.
Not everything is meaningful. I'm saying if you misuse something or use it for bad, it's not meaningful. If you have the intention to do it for good, then it becomes meaningful.
Right. But let's say, this guy said to me today, I don't know where this is going to come in, but it was in shul today. And this guy said to me that either, he might watch this, I'm not going to say his name, because I don't know if what I'm going to say is good or bad, but he said, everything you do is either good or bad. So you got to choose good or bad. Now, he got that from a sefer or something. I don't know exactly where he got that from, but I was like, I don't agree with that. If I go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and help someone who's struggling with addiction, right? That's good.
Right.
My wife doesn't think it's good. She wants me home at 2 in the morning.
Right.
So is it good or bad? For my wife, it's not that good. for this guy, it's good. Then the guy said, well, it's about you. So is it good for you? Or so I don't know. I'm like, I help this person, it's good for me. I help my wife, it's good for me.
Right.
They're both good for me. So it's the same act. It can be either good or bad.
Right.
So I'm saying you working out, you're saying I'm doing this for, muscles for mitzvahs. I'm going to do something higher, a higher cause with it. But even if you just went to work out and you were vain, but picked up your day, you made you feel better, you're nicer to your wife, you're nicer to your colleagues, it made a lot of things happen. You were in a bad mood, you wanted to snap at people, you're not snapping at anybody.
Right.
So you look in the mirror a little to get that. All right. That's what I'm saying. Everything is good or bad. So even things that seem like so meaningful. Good. Well, good, yeah. Good.
I think there's a concept.
I'm saying good and bad. Potential.
The concept, I don't know if this applies even, but the concept that with every something, there's always the opposite effect. Right. So you have like, let's say Israel, you'll have like Jerusalem, and then you'll have Tel Aviv. Shout out to Tel Aviv.
Shout out Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
I tell you a great Tel Aviv story, but I want to hear the rest of their thought.
But everything has the potential. Everything has both sides. So I'm saying, let's say you accept a job, right, which was good for you. The other person who applied didn't get the job, or vice versa.
Right.
I don't know if it applies.
I don't know if it applies, but I'm going to tell you this thing about Tel Aviv. So I was at, Rabbi Mordechai Machlis?
Yeah.
With all the people? Anyway,
I never went.
I don't know why you didn't go.
I wasn't fully.
You weren't into it.
I wasn't there.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It's an interesting chill, and he has millions of people at his house. Anyway, got close to the family. We were very, very close with them, me and Ellie. And I was in yeshiva at the time, and I came to him, and I said, I'm going to Tel Aviv, and I said, schmutz, Tel Aviv, like I was doing the yeshiva thing. And he looked at me like dead serious. And he said, do you know that Tel Aviv is the only big city in the world that has 92% Jewish people? That's a city, a full city with 92% of Jewish souls. And you just said Lashon Hara about that city? And I was like, whoa. I was like, I really didn't think about it that way. He's like, these are all souls. There's no city like that in the whole planet. This is the holiest city in the world. Right. You could call Yerushalayim the holiest city. It's walls. You could call Tzfat the holiest city. 92% of the city
it's
are
more than
Jews.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's much more than Jerusalem. Jerusalem's like 50%.
Right.
Talking about 92% all have Jewish
you don't
souls?
think Tzfat is
Tzfat's not a city. No, I was using Tzfat.
It's not a city?
No, I'm talking about a cosmopolitan city in the world. Like, maybe Haifa would be a city, but Jerusalem, Haifa's not 92%.
No.
I'm saying it's like Jerusalem, Haifa, Tel Aviv. I don't know. Maybe Beersheba is a city. I don't know. Not really. Maybe. Or what's the one we all make fun of? Petach Tikva.
We don't like Petach Tikva.
I don't know, the guy on the internet called Free Petach Tikva. He's always saying Free Tikva. Anyway, they make fun of Petach Tikva.
Cool.
Anyway, so I thought that was like, see, here you have a city where you're like, oh, that's bad. There's stuff going on there that's bad. And you're like, there's nothing bad going on there. Like just a switch of perspective.
No, it's not that there's nothing bad going on. It's that there's good people doing bad things.
Maybe. I can't even look at it past what he said.
Right.
What he did to my brain at that time really changed how I viewed Jews.
Right.
And how I viewed things. I'm like, who are you to decide if it's good or bad or this and that? You're talking about Jews living together with each other, our nation, our people, together, Jewish souls. I couldn't see it another way. Like, I can't even go past, like, oh, what are they doing there? Is there this type of parade or that? It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Right. I don't know. I got hit. That was like it's the only time he's ever said something to me like a little stronger. I don't think he was trying to be not nice to me. He just was shocked that I said something like that. It was like blown away. Like, what do you?
Right. I like that you told me it because it gave me a...
It changes it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the way we all talk about Tel Aviv, like, how dare you talk about a city like that? Like, it was like, that was a feeling. And since then, I've been like, anyway, why do you live in Israel? There you go.
I think, I know, you feel it. You feel Judaism. You feel the energy. You feel everything. I make the comparison between Israel and every other place is in Israel, everybody treats you like crap. Excuse my language.
Is that true?
People treat you like crap. They're shouting at each other, the this, the that.
Right.
Right? In the rest of the world, everybody's being nice to each other. They're polite, this. When it comes down to it, though, in Israel, every single person will take a bullet for you. Everywhere else in the world, you're on your own. That's how I see it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have stories about that?
Yeah, I haven't had anyone who's taken it, but I'm saying you could just see.
Not a bullet.
You could just see, even after October 7th, like everybody was fighting. There was all these protests literally right outside my house every single week. Massive protests, the left and the right, and this. October 7th happens, everyone's together, everyone's helping each other, everyone's getting food for each other. They're looking out for each other.
Right.
When it comes down to it, everyone's shouting about what they disagree on.
They still shout. They all love each other.
Right.
That is a wild experience.
That's why I love there.
I think I might have said something on a Shift podcast because she said something similar. I don't remember. Because I remember saying it once before, but I was hiking with Ellie, before we were even friends, like a long, long time ago. And
you were hiking with Ellie when she wasn't your friend.
She wasn't even my friend.
So you just...
I don't know if this goes on a religious podcast, but basically, I don't know if it's a religious podcast. But when I met her, I told her I'm going traveling in the north of Israel for a while. And like the day I met her. And she said, "Oh, that sounds really cool. I'd love to do that." So when I started hiking in the north of Israel, I remembered this girl who I met maybe once or twice before. And I just gave her a call. And I said, "I'm hiking in the north of Israel. You want to come?"
It was just you
and right. So she's like, she didn't really know me that well. So she brought a friend, like, to see if I was like a creepo or something. And I don't know, for the first, like, I think we spent Shabbos together in Tzfat or at the Ascent.
Right.
And we did the meals together and stuff like that. And they saw I was like kind of normal. So then she went hiking with me.
Amazing.
So that's how
we became friends?
That's how we became friends on this 10-day hike.
That's awesome.
I don't know if that works anymore or in my life. But I wasn't like so religious then. So it didn't occur to me that was maybe not great. But anyway, it was nothing. We were just friends. And we went on this hike. So one of the things what happened was we both were very poor. We had no money. That's a lot of our stories. And I realized, by the way, it's a good idea to be poor because your best stories happen when you're poor.
Right.
Now my stories are like very boring. It's like my car got a little nick in it.
Noted.
That's my bad story. Anyway, so we had no money. So we met this group of people. And they fed us, like we joined them on like a little pasta, like meatballs and spaghetti type of meal, like sweet Israeli people. And they thought we were celebrities in hiding, which was a lot of fun because Ellie looks like Sandra Bullock. So they thought she was Sandra Bullock and I was some other guy. And they were like, they kind of like were like giggling about it and enjoying, like having a good time. But anyway, we became friends with them. And then they fed us. And then we went, I went down. I said, "Listen, I'll make a fire for you guys, and I'll make like a spot by the camping area." So, because we weren't at the camping area at the time, so we walked to the camping area, and I collected wood and I made a fire, and they came down and they passed by this other group of Israelis, like this other group, and as they passed by this other group, they got into like a full out like fight, like it looked like they were gonna punch each other out, like it was bad. They were yelling. It was about politics, and they were just like going at it, just yelling. And I was like nervous. But anyway, they came in, they were all heated, all red-faced, angry. They sit down, and then we having the fire. And it was like a couple hours later, we're playing music. We get like everybody calms down, we're chilling, you know. And then it was a couple hours, so we're having a good time. But then we ran out of wood, and it wasn't like a very woody area. And I'm like, oh shoot, I only collected this amount of wood, you know. Like I guess we got to get more wood. And they're like, those guys have wood. And I was like, you were just about to kill those guys. And they're like, what? And they walked over, and they asked them for wood. They're hugging each other. Hey, here's some wood. They all brought up, they joined us and come up with the wood. And I was like, they came back with the wood. We had all this extra wood. And I said, why'd you go over to them? You just got into a fight with them. They're like, well, they had wood. And I said, well, weren't you just fighting with them? They're like, they're Jews. We're Jews. What are you talking about? They have wood. We need wood. It was, They didn't know what I was talking about. They had no concept. What do you mean? Just because I fought with them, they're not going to give me wood?
Right.
They have wood, and we don't have wood. I promise it was one of my favorite stories of all time. It was like, it was a fantastic story. So what you're describing is like, we could fight. We'll fight about politics.
And we will fight.
Everybody in the world is like, you support Israel, you support Bibi, you support. We don't support anybody. Israelis, Jews, we'll fight about everything. Right. We don't agree with this politics and that politics, and we're not supporting anybody.
Right.
But we got each other's back.
Right.
So if you're messing with us as a nation, as a family, we're supporting Israel.
Right.
And they say, well, are you supporting the party? What are you talking about? We don't. What I find funny in these debates is that the Jews like, what are you talking about? Oh, supporting Bibi? I don't have like, he's a Jew defending Jews. We support that right now.
Right.
If there's another guy there doing the same thing, we'd support that right now. So anyway, I think I took over on this idea, but I'm saying
that's it. That's what the idea is.
Yeah, so I
hit it spot on.
Right. So when I was having my machas tell me this thing about Tel Aviv, it's like a similar idea. It's like, it's so beyond what's happening. We're together holding on to each other.
Right.
So,
right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. There's nothing like it.
But you moved there pretty young.
I moved there 6 years ago. I mean, I was in Shiva for 2 years, and then made Aliyah 4 years ago when I was 23. It was young. It was exciting, scary, good moving to a new country with nothing.
Why didn't you want to move back to South Africa?
South Africa is both the best and the worst place.
Why?
It's so boring. It's the most boring place. It's amazing people and food, but that's it. It's beautiful communities. Like, you don't feel it. You don't know when it's Shavuot or when it's Sukkot. You don't see thousands of sukkahs up. You know, you're not walking to the Kotel with thousands of Jews.
You don't see any sukkahs up.
You don't see any sukkahs up
because there's walls.
Right. You don't see anything. You don't feel it. You know, and I'm like, I like to feel it. Otherwise, I don't really connect to it.
Right.
So I wanted to be in a place where I could feel it. I do every time I go to South Africa. I'm like, why am I not living here? You know, it's beautiful. It's cheap.
It's nice.
The food's off the charts.
Is the food off the charts?
Man.
Can we discuss that for a split second?
There's nothing better than South Africa.
What's so good about the food in South Africa?
Okay, milk, not so good. Yeah. But the meat, the snacks, the drinks.
Wait, hold on.
The restaurants.
Can we stop? Yeah, meat.
Meat's the best in the world.
Really?
By far. I haven't been to the whole world. But from wherever I've been.
I've had the meat there. I didn't think it was so great.
It's the best.
I go to Israel. The food is off the charts.
I hate the food in Israel. I hate everything.
Everything.
I hate everything in Israel. All the food.
All the food.
I make food for myself every day, and I make, just meat. I'm like, I don't eat shawarma. I don't eat falafel. I'll go to a burger, like an American style burger with like cheese on top.
Yeah.
It's not Israel.
They actually upped their game. They upped their game on the burgers in Israel.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
They have good burgers. So I love the Israel
burgers
food.
in Israeli.
And I'm not a big, huge fan of the South African food. I'm very, very surprised. Pizza is not great.
It's dairy.
Of course, it's dairy.
Right. So I'm saying the dairy isn't amazing.
Oh, you're saying because it's
The
dairy.
meat. You go buy meat in
The meat pies
at the butchers, at Moishi's Butchery.
What, here?
You fry it up, barbecue it up.
Yeah.
It's the best thing in the world. The biltong.
Okay.
I kill for it.
Okay, I got you.
I'm trying to convince my wife to let me go for 3 days to just eat as much as I can,
And
then come back.
it's mainly meat. Because I've had the pies, meat pies.
Meat pies. Yeah.
Gross.
Amazing.
Gross.
So delicious.
I throw up. I can't believe you like it.
We went to South Africa for a month, and
Yeah.
I think I ate something like 90 pies.
Oh, you just love those pies?
I love those pies.
What about the consistency? I'm sorry. I can't explain to the people in the audience how gross the inside of those pies look.
It's mush. It's
like
mush.
Pies it's not like an American pies. It's a pie. It's like a fried like what would you call it? Like a fried dough.
It's pastry.
Not fried.
It's pastry with inside with meat and meat sauce.
Right. But the meat sauce is in like a slimy,
Right. It's
snotty
so this
type
is what I figured out
consistency.
because I bought Shiva to South Africa after
Your
we
wife.
got married. My wife.
Yeah.
My wife.
My wife. My wife.
My wife.
Oh my God, I love it.
I bought it to South Africa and I was so excited to show her Nando's, which is my favorite restaurant. in the
Right.
world. And I pumped her up for like weeks and weeks. I talked about it and we went there and she's like, this is the most average. She didn't like it at all. And what I figured out is it's all nostalgia.
It's all nostalgia.
Everything.
Because it's not good. I'm coming from another
No, it
place.
is good. Maybe you don't like the pies. Which
I've been to Nando's.
Nando's is
It's all right.
I get my friend to my one friend.
It's a mid-range restaurant in America. Mid-range. Sorry.
We don't have so much there. We have like 8 restaurants.
It's like Casey Grill. You been to Casey Grill?
I don't want to
Yeah.
bash restaurants on, but no, you can't compare the two.
Do you know me and Yelly go to another restaurant every Monday? We go to a lot of restaurants.
Yeah, you do the reviews.
We do reviews, but we never put them out.
Right.
We
Coming
do
soon.
never coming. the reviews that are never coming. So what about Chabad? Oh, that's my question.
That's a question. What
Okay,
about
nobody in
Chabad?
your family is Chabad besides for you.
That's right.
How did that happen?
There's 2 types of people in the world.
Yeah.
There's Chabad people and there's people who are going to become Chabad.
Yes,
Those are the 2 types of people.
I agree.
Um,
Also, we decided another thing is that when it comes to Manhagim, I said this today, if it comes to Manhagim, you go by the husband unless you marry a Chabad girl.
right.
And then you go by the wife.
Right.
Okay?
Because Chabad girls will not.
They're not switching.
Also, they take on the most strict of all the Manhagim.
Every single one.
Right. So they're not going to be like, I'm not going to ask them to become less religious. You know?
Okay.
You can't.
Why not?
It's not really like, it doesn't feel so good to tell them like, okay, we're gonna stop that Chalav Yisrael nonsense.
Settle down.
No more of that Chalav Yisrael nonsense.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's just Hasidus. I like my whole growing up. I was just learning Gemara and Mishnah and Halacha, and I don't know what was flying. I was bored. I was like, you know. And then I went to Yeshiva and started learning Hasidus, and I'm like, well, this is Torah that I can implement in my life, and you know, it talks to me. You know, it's not just telling me about, you know, you can't do this on Shabbos for some odd reason. You know, you can't swim in a pool because you might build a boat. Like, I don't know how to build a boat, even if I, you know.
A raft.
A raft boat.
Okay.
By the way, I was away I was a counselor on a camp, and the kids literally went swimming on Shabbos and literally built a boat. They built a raft. And I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about.
This is it.
Yeah.
Okay. They actually built a raft.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, they try and get the other side. So you're saying you discovered Hasidus and you decided to just go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was there for 2 years, so I like started slowly taking. I'll tell you the final show, which is funny, but Hasidus just it talks to me. I'm saying you learn the Tanya, or you learn even it's not only Chabad Hasidus. I'm saying I learned Rabbi Nachman's Hasidus, and any form of Hasidus. It's how you implement it. You know, Likutei Moharan talks like it's like talking about real life. Like this is what you should. This is how you should treat people. This is
Right.
Whereas like Gemara is like you have to like Gemara is amazing. I love Gemara now.
Oh, you into Breslov also? You saying?
Yeah, I love all Torah. I'm
Yeah.
saying I'm not.
You
I'm
saying
Chabad because
Hasidus.
you need to have a Rebbe and you need to have a Manhagim. It's important, but I love all Torah and I learn Likutei Moharan and I learn Tanya and
Right.
I learn everything.
So what's the final? The final.
But the final thing is funny because I had a big shiloh going on inside of me because like my stepdad and my late dad are both Litvish.
Right.
And then I'm like, should I become Chabad? Or should I take on Litvish? Like I couldn't figure it out. And then I remember I was davening from my late dad's Siddur, and there's all these notes in the Siddur, and it was all Hasidus.
Is it?
It's all Hasidus. It was all like. So I was like, in one hand, I'm like, either he's telling me that like you can be Litvish and learn Hasidus, or he's telling me he'll be okay with me being Chabad. So it didn't help. So that's not the final straw. It's just a fun addition.
Okay.
But I went back to South Africa and I went to the barber and I told him to just trim me a little because I was still trimming at the time. And he trimmed off most of my beard. And I went home and I just cried and I felt, I promise you, sorrow after he shaved my beard. And I was like, from that day I took on Chabad. I'm like, that's it. I'm never touching my beard. I'm taking the Manhagim. I'm like, that made up my mind. I'm like, I'm never touching my beard again.
It's the best Chabad story ever.
Yeah. That's it. I was like, that's it. I'm Chabad now.
You just felt the beard.
You can ask Shiv or my mom. I cried for like even days. I was just really like,
because your beard was gone.
Now like I'm so attached to my beard. I'll pull out one hair, I'll cry. It's like part of
You're allowed to pull it
it's
out.
like my identity. No, I do pull out beard hairs occasionally. Sometimes they just come down to like,
They're just ridiculously long.
yeah, they get out of control.
Wow. That is a huge Chabad thing.
Yeah,
The beard.
yeah.
Chabad ladies will not even find you attractive if you don't have a beard. Is that
Do
true?
you know the story of what happened with the beard?
No.
So the Hasidim went to the Rebbe told the Hasidim that you can't cut your beards or whatever. And they went to the Rebbe and they were like, how are we going to get married if we have these beards? They're ugly, they're long, And he gave them a bracha that they'll all marry a beautiful woman. And I can tell you for myself, it's definitely true.
Wait, this is a real story?
This is a real story. He gave them a blessing.
Which
that
Rebbe was
that-
this?
I don't know, one of them.
One of the Rebbes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He gave a bracha that Chabad women should be beautiful.
Yeah, that they'll zech a beautiful woman for growing their beards.
Wow.
Yeah. And it worked. I'm saying I grew out my beard and I married the most beautiful woman.
That's true.
So that worked.
That's
Now I can shave.
now she's stuck.
Yeah.
You shave and you have a Chabad wife, she's not gonna know what to do with herself.
Right.
She'll probably go cry for a couple of days.
Right.
That's what happens. You don't.
I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. That's why
I'm more attached than she is.
my joke about Chabad is that like you can meet people in Chabad and completely make fun of God. Don't you ever make fun of the rabbi.
Right.
Like we have
No, no.
boundaries.
I have a hard relationship with the Rebbe.
Really?
Yeah, it's not so simple that it's just like, I'm Chabad now. Now he's my Rebbe.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, I love all the Rebbes.
You can't say that.
All the Rebbeim.
No, you can say that. But I'm saying, really?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'd follow the Manhagim of the Rebbe, but like, I don't know, there's a part of me that's like, it's a little intense. It's a little intense. I mean, it's not only Chabad, there's also Breslov with like obsessed with Rabbi Nachman.
right.
I feel like the only one who's not is kind of like, I don't even know, like growing up Litvish, I don't even know who our rabbi was. Like, who's our rabbi?
Right.
I have no idea. Do you know, who's your rabbi?
I have a Rebbe?
I don't know, I'm asking.
My Rebbe is Yali.
But it's important to have a rabbi.
I have said this many times. I am in a goddess worship cult, and I am the only member. I've had some Rebbeim along the way.
Right.
Nobody as good as Ellie.
Right.
Also, she's been the best looking out of all of them, to be fair.
The least amount of facial hair.
Yeah, it is. I've had some very important Rebbeim in my life, but I don't know if I've ever had someone that I would call a Rebbe.
Right.
That I like follow his lead in every single way.
Right.
I'm making a joke about my wife, but I think I do follow her lead in every single way.
Right.
Like if she
But
has,
she is a wise woman.
she's a very wise woman. She doesn't want to come on the podcast.
Right. She's wise.
You see, that is wise. Yeah. So you in Chabad, in Hasidus, you're taught that you have to have a Rebbe.
Right.
And I guess I grew up at, I don't know if you have to have a Rebbe. Like you get a Rebbe.
I think
teaches
basically,
things.
the Rebbe just, well, it talks about tzaddikim is that they work as the intermediary between you and God. So basically, because they're on a higher level, you know, when you ask a rabbi for you know, please daven for me for this, because they're on a much greater level than you yourself,
Right.
that their blessings are much. I mean, I'm not saying that they're greater than our blessings, but they're kind of like they are. You know.
But they are. They got like an inside source. They know the code better.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, something like that.
Yeah. They just float on up to Shemayim and talk to God, where we have to like,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm allergic to Rebbes. This is bad. I think that even though I tremendously love people, I am very hesitant to believe that anybody could really elevate themselves above anybody else. The whole idea of a tzaddik is very hard for me to grasp.
Right.
Because I've known many people that have, and this is maybe cynical, but I have people have like really thought they're a tzaddik, and then I know their struggles, and I think they're great people.
By the way, anyone who thinks they're a tzaddik is not a tzaddik.
They don't think they're a tzaddik, but other people have thought they were a tzaddik, and they're people. I see them as people, and they're struggling, and we're doing this together, and they should have someone that advises them. We should have someone that advises. So like, it's very hard for me to get the concept of like we go to a tzaddik and he like.
No, but you have to admit that there are real tzaddikim. I'm saying,
What does that
the
mean?
Rebbe, for instance,
Yeah.
like just from what you see, is somebody whose the entire life is based around, you know, spreading Torah. He's not like, you'll never see him at KC Grill getting a chicken burger. You know what I'm saying? He's either always talking Torah or giving brachas, or, you know what I'm saying, sleeping 3 hours a night. You know, it's
Second shout out to Casey Grill, by the way.
yeah,
Wait, well, the Rebbe was a phenomenal human being.
right.
I think tzaddik, the idea of tzaddik is that they're actually higher than a Beinani, which means that they're actually have an elevated neshama. That's
I don't think it's elevated neshama.
I mean, the
Or
idea,
maybe it is, but that it's
in
really,
Tanya it talks about
the concept. The concept is really just about the thoughts. You know, like the impulses, like somebody who has zero evil inclination. You know, like the Beinoni is someone who has an evil inclination,
Right.
but doesn't do anything about it. You know, there's even a tzaddik viralo, which is like somebody who has a tiny bit of evil inclination, but the majority of it is it's pretty much diminished. You know, and the tzaddik is like, it's gone. It's not existent.
Right.
You know, of course it's hard to grasp. I don't think we can grasp it.
Yeah, I don't grasp it. I don't think
I
it
think
ex-
most people can't
I don't
grasp
actually
this.
think it exists.
I learned Tanya with
Right.
my friend, and we were like, man, we should just stop. We should stop trying because we're never gonna get to that. It's like this heart thing.
Well, the idea of Tanya is that no one really, you either a tzaddik or you're not. You're not really going to get to tzaddik. You're going to get to Beinani.
Right.
And Beinani's
Even getting to a Beinoni is
Beinani's pretty darn
it's
good.
So far,
Right. So
we're all Rishayim, basically.
Oh, that's so mean.
No, in a good way.
in a good way. Okay, so what about you in terms of like you went through your own challenges? You mentioned before possible illegal use of substances, but in general, you went through your own challenges with Yiddish guy challenges as a teenager, young adult. What inspired you to like come back and not come back, grow? I mean, I'm dealing with people all the time that are like struggling, and everybody has another way to get to, like straighten themselves out, kind of.
Right. I mean,
I don't know that you're straightened out yet, but I'm saying
I'm definitely not.
you seem pretty straightened out.
I'm straight. That's about it.
Okay. That is not something you worked on.
Right. Went to Shiva after high school, where all my friends were going, and I hated it. And it threw me so far. Basically, I didn't go to any of the classes, and I stayed up all like till 6. I remember running home, like I would see my rabbi coming to wake us up, and I'd run into my bed and pretend I'm sleeping, and then he'd come wake me up, and I'd be like, "Oh, too tired." And I'll just stay sleeping. I'll go to sleep for the rest of the day. And eventually, like, I'm not going to mention the yeshiva, but like 6 months into the yeshiva, they were like, "You got to leave." And I had paid full tuition. I mean, I got a Masa scholarship, but because I got kicked out, Masa took away the scholarship, and they still made me pay for the whole year. And then they wouldn't let me stay there. They wouldn't let me sleep in the bed. They wouldn't, they didn't treat me so nicely. Understandably, because I wasn't a good influence on the other guys, and I was just kind of high the whole time or drunk and when I left there, I had such resentment against, rabbis and learning and all of that I just stopped doing everything. I'm saying I just didn't do anything. I was just smoking weed all day.
Right.
It was horrible. It was a terrible time in my life.
You were in Israel or South Africa?
Then I went back to South Africa after that.
Right.
And then I remember I was really just smoking weed all day. I didn't really have any purpose or what I wanted to do with that. I had a job, I was like smoke from the morning till I got to my job, and then like had a joint in the car waiting for my drive home, and then pretty much just like trying to get highs whenever I could. And then I remember my mom was really struggling to connect with me, and she really saw that there was a problem. She said to me, that I need to go see a therapist. And he basically said to me, he's like, "You're an addict." So I was like, I don't really agree. But he said to me, he's like, "Maybe you should do, come to an outpatient program, just 2 hours a day, come to meetings and that." I was like, "Nah, not down." And then I remember I was with my friend. He had borrowed his dad's car, and we were stoned, and we went to his house to pick something up, and his dad was outside and saw that his son was stoned, and his mom had just got back from rehab that day, and he just beat the crap out of my friend in front of me. And then I was like, "Hey, this is like, I think it's probably time to, maybe I should try that rehab thing."
Because
my
friend's
friend got beat
father?
No, because my friend got beaten by his dad for being stoned, and I was like, that's not good.
That was your wake up call?
That was my wake up call. Was like, you should go to the rehab. I wasn't ready to stop. I remember being in rehab, and we had like I told my therapist in rehab that I'm like, "Oh, I plan on smoking after this." And then we had a meeting with my therapist and my parents, and she told my dad that, and my dad went mad at me because it's expensive. You're paying for rehab, and the guy's planning to carry on, after. But anyways, when I was doing the rehab, they started talking about higher powers and this, and for the first time in my entire life, I actually started opening up and speaking to people. Like, going from not like closing myself off to everyone for my entire life to sitting in a circle with 10 strangers and having to open up about everything. It was horrifying, and it was life-changing, and I think till today I'm able to express myself, thank God. But then because of I was sober and I was connecting more to a higher power, so I like started getting more and more into Judaism. I still wasn't so religious. I remember I was working as a teacher, like a informal education. So I'd do like programs for high school students and that. And I was in a sushi store, and the guy said to me, he's like, I was telling him about my yeshiva experience and that I hated it and I never want to go back to yeshiva. And he was like, there's this place called Mayanot, they have a summer program. Would you go for 2 weeks? I was like, he really talked it up. It sounded amazing. So I was like, I'd go for 2 weeks, but I have a job. I can't just take off 2 weeks. And he's like, if I can convince your boss to let you take off 2 weeks, will you go? I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, and he convinced my boss to let me go for 2 weeks. I went for 2 weeks. Last day, we were on a Shabbaton. I was leaving Motzei Shabbat. It was Shabbat day. I went to the top of the mountain and I was screaming and crying. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay in yeshiva. I wanted to learn. I wanted to. I was like really connected finally. Like for the first time in my life, I'm like connected, And I came down the mountain. It was Shabbos. I was smoking a cigarette. I was like, I still wasn't religious, but I came down the mountain. There was this guy. His name is Daniel Schechter. If you know him, probably not.
No.
Daniel Schechter. He's a gentleman and a scholar. But I came down the mountain and I was crying to him. I was telling him how bad I want to stay. He's like, come back the first, finish your contract. Because you signed a contract, so you stand by your word. But then...
What contract?
I signed a contract for my job.
Oh, for your job.
For like the year.
Okay.
Anyways, he says, as soon as the contract's up, you come to yeshiva. And I remember I came back from the 2 weeks and my boss was like, I totally expected you to stay. And I was like, shoot, I should have stayed. Anyways, I went back after 3 months. I went back at the end of the year. Stayed there for 2 years. Thank God.
So what about those 2 weeks that made you so connected?
I don't know. I think it was the Torah that we were learning. It was first of all the energy of yeshiva. Like the other yeshiva I had, it was like you wake up at 6 a.m. and then you daven, and you learn Gemara for 12 hours, and then you do halacha, and you get told what you're not allowed to do, and you're just like, there's no like ruach, there's no like,
You're saying that's in a regular yeshiva.
That's in the regular yeshiva, and then I went to Mayanot, and everyone was excited about learning. There was like an excitement to it, and the Torah itself was really beautiful, and I was connecting to it, and after my whole life not having anything that I had connected to before, not to necessarily people or school programs or the other yeshiva or whatever it is. First time in my whole life I actually connected to something, like I craved that connection, and so I went and it was the best. To this day, I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you actually moved near the yeshiva after you were done, no? That was...
I lived in Nachlaot for the past 3-4 years, which was...
You still stay connected to the Rebbeim there and stuff like that?
If I see them, it's hard. Life's busy.
Yeah.
So I do pop past every now and then to say hello, but not really. Like, I love them when I see them.
Right.
And I have huge hakar satov to them.
And the Rebbeim there got very close with the guys, or...
No, I think one of the biggest things for me is the Rosh Yeshiva. His name is Rabbi Vichnan, and my whole life I didn't see anyone who practiced every single thing they preached. So they teach you about the halachas and everything, but you didn't see them doing it, and they didn't. Rabbi Vichnan would talk to us about how you should treat people, and then he would treat them that way, and he never broke it. And to this day, he's the most incredible person, and seeing that I'm like, I could be that. That's something I could be. I could learn something and then do it.
Right.
There's a lot of rabbis. Especially the rabbis I had in my other yeshiva that, they do it. But then they wouldn't treat you so nicely. They shout at you. Even if he was upset, he wouldn't shout. He'd call you to the side and he'd talk to you softly, and he'd be like, just like.
Right.
So seeing that, I was like, wow, this is like, it's legit.
All right, so let me ask you a little personal question. I don't know if we cut it out of here. No, there was a point in time you were just kind of really stuck, like financially, where you going with your with your life and stuff like that. Like, I remember sitting and talking to you a lot about it whenever I came. It wasn't a lot.
I was at the bar mitzvah.
It was
Jonathan's bar mitzvah.
Was it Jonathan's bar mitzvah? I don't remember when it was last. I try to make all the bar mitzvahs and weddings and
the same trip.
No, I'm saying I try to make them. I made it to
well.
your wedding.
Yep.
That's right. I was big props. Big props.
Yeah, the biggest.
No, because that was a tough year.
So I think.
But what made you unstuck? You got married, like.
So basically, I was after rehab. I was clean for a year and a half, and then I felt super imprisoned by the idea that I can never smoke again. And AA, it's kind of like, or NA, they're like, if you ever touch it again, you're gonna die, and you're gonna, and I hated that idea. I'm like, I can just smoke again and be fine. No, so I smoked with a friend, and then waited a couple of weeks and did it again. And eventually, I was smoking all day, every day again.
Right.
I didn't die, but
you didn't die from marijuana.
No.
Okay.
I moved to Israel and I was working at a cafe, and it was amazing. It was the dream. Everybody, I had a good job. All my friends came to visit.
The coffee place?
The coffee place.
I just want to say I have a story that happened to you, so I want to share it. I was sitting in the coffee place. By the way, it was the greatest pleasure. Just sit down by the counter, and you were doing your business, and it was just fun to watch you.
Yeah.
But this guy comes to the window. And he's like looking through us, and you're like, "How can I help you?" And he's like, "What about this? And what about this?" He's asking you 100 questions, and then you just turn to me like he's gonna get a cappuccino. And then after like 10 minutes of deliberation, the guy's like, "Can I have a cappuccino?" You're like, I think you were like halfway finished making it already. like
It's the worst.
I could tell the cappuccino people. I really like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
You know what I did? I'll reveal a little secret. On Fridays, the busiest day, you have 1,000 people asking for drinks.
Yeah.
And you get these American guys who come up and they're like, "Give me a pour over," which takes 12 minutes to make.
Right.
And it just was, it would end up taking 2 hours because I'm making 400 drinks in between.
Right.
So what I used to do is I'd make them a Americano. It's water with a shot of coffee. And they would come up to me and they'd be like, "This is the most amazing pour over," and I'm like, "Yeah, get out of here!" Like, I totally.
You didn't do that to the connoisseurs, the people who knew.
No, none of them knew.
None of them knew.
No one knew.
Same thing.
Same thing. Nobody knows what they're talking about.
I love that. There's a lot of coffee geeks that are gonna get annoyed about that.
I also made up everything. Like we have 15 different types of beans, and I would just, they're like, I want, like it's sweet, but it's also savory and bitter. And I was like, yeah, definitely, this one is perfect. And they're like, oh, great,
You
just make up nonsense.
Okay, well.
Anyways, I was working at this cafe, and it was amazing. My friends, it was in the center. All my friends visited me. They were chilling there the whole time. I was allowed to smoke, so I was in and out, just smoking joints the whole day, just having a great time. And then a year in, 2 years in, I was looking outside and I'd see the regulars, and the regulars were like this, these 70-year-olds that come and play chess at the cafe. This wasn't the final straw, but and they were there again, and they were just smoking weed, and that was their laugh. There was nothing more to it. They weren't happy. They'd come and tell me all their sad stories, but they weren't like trying to get happy. They were just accepting. Weed kind of like dulls your emotions.
Right.
And I was like, I need to feel. I need to feel again. But anyways, we went to the bar mitzvah, and we were sitting, and I remember I was so emotional. All you guys were there. You, Sarah.
At the bar mitzvah?
Kiwi, at the bar mitzvah, Kiwi.
Which bar mitzvah was this?
Daniel.
Oh, I'm trying to remember which bar mitzvah. Is Yosef's bar mitzvah?
I think so.
Okay.
Anyways,
I was 4 years ago.
Crying and crying. I think it was the Kiwi and Sarah, just crying about my life, whatever. And Sarah turned to me and she's like, "You stop smoking. Like, you gotta stop smoking weed." Anyways, after that Shabbos, the first thing I went is I rolled a joint and I was standing outside.
Just want to say, it was your uncles and aunts in the conversation. I'm very excited. Okay. Yeah.
And I was standing outside and right after Shabbos, I was smoking a joint, and then I looked at it for a second. I was like, "What am I doing?" And I threw it on the floor, and I was like, "That was the last time I ever smoked."
Whoa.
But I think it was in my mind, I because I wanted to be at this place where I can have healthy relationships and be healthy and feel good and feel emotion. Like I never felt emotions for like years, and I just wanted to have a healthy relationship. I was like, that's enough. I'm like, I just stopped. It was interesting for me because after that, I needed support because I was having a really tough time because I was overwhelmed with every emotion.
Right.
And so you told me to go to meetings.
Right.
And I remember I did for a little, and then I started feeling like it's really hard to connect to everybody because everyone's talking about how they almost died, they hit rock bottom, this, that. I'm like, I quit because I want to be healthy. I want to I got to a point. I was fully functional before I had the job. Nothing changed in my life except with inside of me.
Right.
It wasn't like I was gonna die if I carried on. Everything was the same. So I had to. Eventually, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go to any more meetings because I didn't resonate with anyone there.
Right.
Everyone was having it tough. But after I quit smoking, it was the craziest time of my entire life. I would fall on the floor and just cry uncontrollably. I didn't cry for years and years, and I'm like,
right.
I felt sadness, and you feel sadness for the first time in 10 years. You feel the most amount of sadness that you've ever felt, or you feel anger, or you feel happiness, and it was like the most terrifying, amazing experience because I was able to feel again. I was like, my happiness was real. It wasn't like you smoke a joint, you're sad, you smoke a joint, you're fine. You're happy, you smoke a joint, you're happy. You stay happy.
Right.
But you don't really feel the happiness that you're feeling. You're feeling the side effects of the joint that you're smoking, and anger, whatever it is. But anyways, I quit till today, thank God. And it's been, and then.
And you plan on starting again when you're in your 70s?
70s, 50 years. I give myself 50 years.
50 years or
no
so.
Smoking, and then when I'm 76, I'm retired. I'm sitting on my Merpeset on a rocking chair. I can smoke a joint. I think I'm gonna smoke for the rest of my life after that.
All
but
right.
I probably won't.
Well, you have time to figure it out.
Right.
You told me that today. I love that.
Right.
It's okay. You're not done forever.
Right. No, 50 years.
50 years.
I've been very close to smoking again since then. Like in South Africa, you go into dispensary, or even in America, you go into dispensary, and it's such BS because I had to fight to get high. I had to fight to get good weed. And now you go into a store and you can just choose. And I ask my wife,
South Africa has dispensaries?
Yeah. Well, it's not really legal, but they have them.
Oh, okay.
But if you ask my wife when we were there, every dispensary we went into, and I'm like, I would tell everything. It's such BS that you could just buy now, and I'd give them.
And it's all better than the other
and
stuff.
And I'd smell, and it was like, I never smoked. But that's it, and I think.
All right, so what's the best advice I've ever given you?
I think the best advice you've given me is whatever.
Very egotistical question.
Whatever you do, be the best at it.
That's good advice.
I think because I was having a hard time with my work, and it was it wasn't necessarily fun or but I'm like, if I had a goal now, so it gave it meaning. Before I was just on the phone for hours, and it was but now I'm gonna be the best on the phone. I'm gonna
right,
and it worked.
That's good advice.
It's good advice.
The follow-up is better.
You've given me lots of good advice.
The follow-up is we were talking in the pool today. Shh. we were hanging out. And the follow-up is, the reason that works so well is everybody else is not doing that.
Right.
So if you're in a company...
Right, whoever's listening to this, do not listen to this.
Do not listen to this.
You will ruin it for us.
It is... No, but this is pretty... Like, every place I've ever worked, you know, like, there's only, like, one or two people that are, like, really putting everything they got into it.
Right.
And so it's not that extremely hard to rise to the top.
Right.
Which people really don't realize.
Right.
They're like,
It's honestly sad. It's been sad for me to watch, just like everybody's fine with where they are. You know, they're not like trying to push to be better. I find it so often.
Right.
You know, it's just people are not pushing to grow or to be better. Like,
See, I don't mind that if the people are happy with it.
I don't believe.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, I meet some people. I had a friend a long time ago, and he figured out how much he needs for the year. So he was pretty successful. So he would, by March time, from January to March, he made all the money he needs for a year. He would just stop working.
Amazing.
He just was enjoying his life.
Right.
Now, that guy is very rare, and ultimately it didn't end up happening. You know, kids started coming, and, you know, he needed more and more. But there are certain people that are like, they're really all right with their life, not having to kill it anywhere.
Right.
And they're happy with the amount of money they have. But what I find frustrating from what you're saying is people that are really not happy with what's going on. They don't make enough money. They're not getting the right recognition. They don't feel proud of what they're doing, but also are not
pushing.
Is
Yeah.
there a bug here that's attacking us?
There's a little moth here.
That was terrifying. Not that terrifying. I just didn't know what was behind me. I thought it was a bat. Anyway, no, I'm saying, so some people, it's funny because at the beginning we started out saying, like, I kind of trying to make myself as mediocre as I can in some ways.
Right.
Like, my intensity to make everything meaningful as a kid and my early career, I'm trying to, like, for my own mental health and my own well-being, to, like, say, hey, life is meaningful without being so intense.
Right.
But I think if you're not happy with it,
right,
then you can't be chilling.
Right.
You
can chill to take a break from the meaningfulness, but if it's not meaningful, you can't take a break.
See, that's a problem. Even my chilling is meaningful. You hear the problem?
Right.
It's like, I'm only chilling so that I can have my own
Right,
mental
that's
health
it.
and my own well-being. What if I just want to watch a football game?
Right.
I followed a
But that's
team
for
for
you.
the first
That's
time this
meaningful.
year. Also, I remember when I was a kid, this is a wacky story. Like, my mother, I went and bought a book. I spent most of my money on books and comic books when I was really young. I was like, there wasn't enough books for me, so I was just buying comic books and books. That's because that's all I did was read. I still love reading, but it was like crazy.
I read comic books.
Comic books are the bomb.
That's my still go-to book.
I think it's great.
It's a book with pictures. It's like a movie and a book in one.
By the way, I tell everybody this, that if someone's struggling with reading, like a kid, just start them with a comic book.
Yeah. But
They're
the
gonna
problem
love
is
it.
you might be like me and be stuck on comic
Yeah,
books
for
forever.
you might stay on a comic book.
Right.
Nowadays, comic books, there's plenty of comic books to read. You can read forever.
Right, but now there's like Netflix.
That's true.
Right.
No more reading.
I'm super addicted to Netflix.
But anyway, my mother took this. I bought this book, and it was just like a cheap novel. Like, it was like dumb novel. It wasn't like, it didn't have any meaning behind it. And she literally like threw it out. She's like, this is garbage. What is this? And I'm like,
Right.
I bought that. Right? But it like left me with this idea, like, if it's not meaningful, I shouldn't read it. And it took a long time for me to like get back to like just reading for joy and just enjoying it. And like,
Right.
I had this, it was a very strong mission in my house, which has left us with being awesome, but also like very intense.
Right.
It's an intense group of
Right.
people.
It's the same as my used He won't, like, we always used to watch movies. He wouldn't watch it unless it's meaningful.
Right.
Nothing. If it's not a meaningful movie, he won't watch it.
It's meaningful just
like,
to
just
sit down and
enjoy
watch
life.
a movie with people.
Right.
But that's not how I grew up, and I'm saying like that. I see it in my life all the time. Like it's like I have to like all the time. Like what are you doing with this podcast? You know, like what if I'm just having conversations? Like it's always like I'm like fighting back to not make everything super. It's funny because everybody in the world is trying to live a more meaningful life.
Right.
I find it funny.
I think people should stop overthinking, including myself.
Yeah.
Like, don't make it. Just do it, you know?
Right.
I don't know. I still have a lot of pressure on myself. Like, I'll have a half an hour to spare in my day. I'll watch some Netflix. And then I'll kick myself for doing that. Like, I could have done something better.
Right.
You know? And like, should I do that? Should I be kicking myself?
I don't know. It seems to be the end thing.
Right.
Everybody's doing it. They're all kicking themselves for all the wasted time.
Right, well, cool. If everyone's doing it, then it must be right.
Right.
Yeah.
I have this thing that I haven't implemented yet, but there's something called Freakonomics. You know Freakonomics? You ever?
Mm-mm.
Freakonomics is just this most awesome book, and they have radio shows. They have a bunch of different things, but Freakonomics actually takes real, like, statistics and numbers and breaks it down. So, like, all these things we think are true, they're, like, not true at the end, and it's really fascinating how they do it. But one of the things is they're like, this is the time period in the world that we work the hardest. They were saying, like, in middle, like, we think of like old time farmers, like during the Middle Ages, like they work like crazy. And they're like, let's break down the day. Half the year can't work. They just got to feed the animals. There's no work. It's snow on the ground. There's nothing to do but feed the animals and try not to die. By the time it got dark, the lights were off. So, like, if you were very rich, you could afford some candles, maybe one candle, but you couldn't stay up that long because they were poor. They didn't have, so they would work from morning till night, and then that was it. It was over, and there was no more working. And if you were lucky and you were rich, you had some more money. You could read a book if you could afford a book. But there was not much else happening, and it definitely wasn't a lot of work. And your work day in general was 3 hours, 4 hours. It wasn't that much. And they break it down. And the only ones is the Chinese. The people in the Far East actually worked really hard because they had good season the whole year. And it's rice paddies. And rice paddies, the more you work them, the better they are. So they work 12, 14-hour days always since like 1,000 years ago. So they're great workers. Always. It's fascinating. But anyway, I was thinking about these medieval farmers. And they had, I don't know, they had good, let's say 8 hours a day of like work day.
It's not 8 hours of light in the day.
There is on certain days. Some days have a lot more than 8 hours. Some days have more than 12 hours. But what I'm saying is like, but they didn't, let's say they work 8 hours. But then it was just over. We're working one job, two jobs. You're thinking a half-hour day. You're thinking from 6 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Ain't nobody waking
That's
up
your full
at
day.
6 o'clock in the morning. In me.
You.
I mean, I work nights. So I'm not waking up at 6.
Okay, now we're at 6. But there are many, many, many hours. I'm thinking, what did they do when it got dark?
Right.
If they had Netflix, they'd watch a half hour of Netflix.
Probably.
That's my thought. That's the end of the whole thought. I'm like, we're so intense that we have to have every single hour of our 16-hour day has to be full.
Right.
Just because we could afford lighting. It's a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Take back the lights.
Take back the lights, man. I would totally, in the winter days, go to sleep at 4:30
Right.
and have a 16-hour sleep when it's dark.
Would you choose to go back to...
Never. It's the worst. Just think about the smells.
Just think about the smells.
How bad did it smell? Think about all the hippies
Think about,
that
everyone
don't
was
believe
hippies.
that don't believe in deodorant. Imagine they don't even have natural deodorants.
Right.
Nothing. Take a
You're
shower
probably used to it.
once a year. They took a bath once a year if they was a king.
But
The
if
rest
you
of the
were used-
people?
they're probably used to it. I'm not saying go back now. You wouldn't be able to handle.
I wouldn't go
being
back.
born in that era. I think it's cool. It's cool because you're living for survival. You're not living for.
It's the worst time ever. The food, yuck. You didn't even have restaurants. It's nothing. Gross. The food was terrible. Everything was terrible.
Right.
It's I think all the time. The Bacher Rebbe has a line about this because they were talking about how the Dark Ages were. The Bacher Rebbe said a line. The Dark Ages. He said not everything was dark in the Dark Ages, and not everything is light in the Light Ages or the enlightened times.
Right.
He was saying like everybody was like, in the Jews, we had a lot of cool stuff going on in the Dark Ages, like a lot of Svarim and stuff like that happening. It was just the non-Jews. Anyway, okay.
I have just a hot take.
Hot take.
I'm upset.
We can keep going. I'm just looking.
I'm upset
Yeah.
at therapists. And I wanted to take this up with all my uncles and aunts.
All right, let's go.
Me and my wife have discussed this in depth. Well, as far as it can go. Therapists should not charge for the first session. That's my hot take. The first session is the session, and I'm only saying this because I wanted to get out to the world. Therapists should not charge for the session. Do you know how many first sessions I've gone to, or my wife has gone to, and then you don't like the therapist, you don't connect, and then you're down $300. First of all, stop charging so much, everybody. If you're trying to help people, stop charging so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's another hot take.
It's another hot take.
Stop charging people so much.
My whole last podcast was about that.
Nice.
Podcast that came out.
You agree
tonight.
with me? Don't charge me $450 for an hour session when I need to do 12 of them.
I think it's crazy.
It's crazy.
12 of them.
No, I don't.
You're gonna go forever.
No, I don't believe in forever therapy.
Yeah, well, it's because you don't go to therapy.
I go to therapy when I have a problem that
Right.
I need to sort out.
Okay.
I go,
You're talking about even a 12 times. So they should work for free. What other job
No.
like that?
I'm not saying work for free. Charge.
What do you charge?
Not the first session.
First
though.
session.
First session, you have to see if it's compatible. Well, I'm paying $300 for nothing.
So when I hire a lawyer, the first session should be free? I might not want to go back to the guy. I mean, I'm
Lawyers
saying,
different.
why?
Lawyers, you don't need to connect to your lawyer. The lawyer needs to be good at his job and know how to do law.
If I want to hire
Therapy's
if I
very-
want to hire a real estate agent,
Same thing. When you're talking, when you
think they work on
connect to someone
commissions.
emotionally and feel like they understand you, and it's very different to do they know where the nicest houses are or can get the best prices, or if they know law.
I have a way to. I will counter.
Okay.
You ready for the counter?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm having a hard time with this because I have a hard time with the part you said about charging less. I'm like a little bit more
Okay.
a fan of. Like, that's a little crazy to charge the amounts they charge, but they could get away with it, so I get it. But that is a little crazy. How about this? You don't charge for the first session, but if you come back, you pay double the second.
Deal. I'll take that deal.
That's the deal.
That's a good deal.
So then everybody gets paid for their time if they win you over.
Amazing.
And I believe that a first session a therapist take is like a first date. You have to win the person over. They have to go on a second date with you.
Right.
At least with young clients, I definitely believe that's true.
What because you can't really get a sense
No,
of somebody.
When I do a first session with a teenager or a young adult, like the whole first session is basically selling the idea of us working together to get better. And like in a way that's attractive to the person that like, oh, I think I could do something here and there's a connection. And
But
there's
it's not only about you thinking you could help the person, it's about the person feeling that you're the right person for
right.
them.
So I'm saying it has to be a winning over type of part of it. It's a first date. Is this connection going to happen?
Right.
My whole thing when I did therapy, I'm not really doing therapy now, but when I did therapy was that my whole mission of the first session was that they come back the second session. I feel like if someone comes back the second session, you got them. This is the work. We're ready to do the work. This guy already chose you. He's ready
Right.
to go. So I agree with you on that, but I don't like the idea of people working for free.
Right. So if it works out, second session I'll pay double.
Double.
Simcha. Yeah, I'll pay for the first session if I choose you.
Okay.
But if I'm not going to choose you, then well, I'm paying you for telling you my life story.
Okay, so but what about the guy spending time, his own time?
He's gonna make that money back in one more session. The amount they charge.
I know, but it's his time. It's still a business. All right.
That's
It's a hot take. I like it.
yeah.
I don't 100% agree with it.
That's okay.
I like hot takes. You have any other hot takes? You think any of people... No, I think everybody in my family would disagree with that hot take.
What about
like
that?
me?
What about the other one? To charge less.
Charge less everybody would be into, but we all charge more.
Right. Like you'll agree with it, but you won't do it.
I will tell you this: if I'm out there as a therapist and I don't charge $350 an hour, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with that guy? Why is he so cheap? I'm telling you the truth.
Because you're a good dude.
Good dude. You just can't because you can't fill up because you're not that good.
No.
100%.
No,
But I want to tell you something. I'll tell you, when I started therapy, when I started doing private practice such a long time ago, it was like the going rate was like $120. That was like the low rate. The high rate was like $150, $175. That's where we were at. It's not that long ago, 20 years ago. So when I went, I was 120, and people were bargaining me and like, oh, I can't afford it. I'll give it to me for 80, give it this, or whatever, like that price. I switched from 120 to 150. No one bargained anymore. They were just happy to have me because it was the higher rate. Now, nowadays, those rates are 200 or 350.
Right.
So yeah, if you walk in 350, this is what I charge.
If I'm paying $350 for a session, you've got to change my life in a session.
I agree.
Also, I'm coming to you with problems, which means I probably don't have money.
By the way, it's true. I find therapy is really for the rich. And you could go to clinics. For anybody
Right.
else, you go to clinics. So now there is a little movement when Kiwi is doing, like, there's a movement to make clinics better therapy and like really make them quality therapy. So you get like that really good therapist experience, but with your insurance and all that. So you get it for free.
Right.
That's the difference. It's free.
Oh, it's free.
Clinics are free.
Cool.
You could go to clinics for free and see a therapist with the same degree as the person who charged you $350, $450 a session. You
Why
just
would
decided
anyone go to a private?
because anybody who's good leaves the clinic because clinics don't give them the right price. And there's a whole bunch of reasons. You could look at the podcast that I did
No, but
before.
why would
but
I
I'm
pay
saying,
$350 if I can go to a clinic?
because everybody believes that the good therapists are not in clinics; they're in private practice. Everybody who's recommending is not the clinics. And I walk into a clinic, I don't get to choose which therapist I want. I walk in, they give me some person who's an intern who doesn't know anything, and they're my therapist. So I could go to that person that everybody recommends. I'm going to go to that person, but it's $350 an hour. That's what we're dealing with.
Right.
It's a very complicated situation.
If we get all the therapists to lower their price, then we won't have the problem of people.
I think there's a better solution. The therapists are not going to like. I think everybody should start doing AI therapy.
Right.
Do therapy
ChatGPT.
on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I would recommend Grok. I did a therapy session on Grok myself. One of the best therapy sessions I went to in my entire
Well,
life.
you're just talking back and forth?
Yep. While I was driving. Fantastic. I was crying on the Palisades. Literally crying. I'm crying on the Palisades. Like I was having a breakthrough. I changed my life because of that session. I made a schedule change in my life because of the session.
Insane.
Because it was like you took on too much. You have to take away something. What do you want to take away? Blah, blah, blah. How do you do it? How do you deal with it? How do you deal with people being disappointed about it? I made a change.
Right.
Based on an AI
By the way,
therapy.
it's unbelievable how AI is. I talk to AI about problems. I'll ask it a problem. It won't just give me the answer. It'll be like, that sounds so hard. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing that. Super empathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives you validation.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I was in a therapy session. It was like, that is a really creative, and it's talking to me with that great voice. And it's like, that is a very creative imagery. Let's analyze it. And it was it was unbelievable. And I was like, thinks I'm creative.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that unfortunately, I hate to say it because people in my field, they should make money, but I think there may be a revolution.
Right.
Especially now that everybody, and this is crazy, that you charge $4.50 an hour and I only see you in Zoom.
Right.
So you only see me in Zoom. You're not reading my language. We're talking on the phone. I'm in my pajamas. You're in your pajamas. We're having a session, right? And I'm going to go on AI. Let me try AI.
Yeah.
And I'll find someone who could be a mentor to me. And I'll mix that. I'm starting to feel like that might be a solution to a very difficult problem.
Right. It's going to cause more problems.
Yeah.
For therapists.
But right, for therapists.
You just unemployed our entire family.
No, my family's fine.
Right.
My family's doing great, thank God. They're all amazing podcast guests. Final question, or you have something else you want to say?
I have no
You
more.
talk about flat Earth? You want to talk about, what are we talking about? What do you think about Bibi Netanyahu?
I
That's
love
not the
him.
final question. Love him.
Love him.
All right.
He's a G.
I'm suspicious about what happened October 7th, but whatever. We'll get on to conspiracies, different story.
Right.
I think they either
What's your biggest conspiracy that you believe?
that I believe.
Yeah.
Biggest conspiracy that's just a very interesting question. I kind of believe that they knew about October 7th.
Mm.
That's pretty close to home. I'm trying to think of other ones. I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory, but I don't believe that Epstein killed himself.
For sure not.
Yeah, it's like,
Nobody believes that.
yeah. I just saw an interview on Joe Rogan where this guy was like, yeah, he totally killed himself. I'm like, what planet are you from?
Right.
There's no way he killed himself.
I'll tell you my conspiracy
Okay.
that I believe
Let's
in,
hear.
and I might be very wrong, but
Yeah.
I don't think we landed on the moon.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to tell you something. I'm dying for that to be true. I don't know if it's true, but
Why haven't we gone back?
What?
Why haven't we gone back? We haven't been back.
I think we did go back.
We didn't go
There's a
back.
bunch of people went back to the moon.
I don't think so.
I don't think it was only one landing on the moon. There was a couple landings.
I think we were in
It
a
was
race.
like 11 people on the moon.
We were in a race with the Russians to get to the moon first.
No, there was a couple people on the moon.
So
They
we
could have
just-
all been faked. I think there was a couple people on the moon.
I think it's fake.
The whole thing.
No, I think maybe now people have been to the moon, but I don't think the first moon landing happened.
Here's a conspiracy. What do you think about this? I believe that somehow governments are making the conspiracy theories up, that there's so many of them that you don't believe any. Because you don't know what to believe. I
possible.
believe it's conspiracy theories about conspiracy theories.
Right.
That like they just
I love it.
they're
yeah.
like hiring people like these conspiracy theory guys to just keep plowing them out so that you're lost. Like some of
Right.
them are right, but
Have you seen The Office?
what's I mean,
It's a hilarious show, but he basically
I've seen The Office. I just don't know. what
right.
I'm
So he says something that happened. He like says Lashon Hara about one of the guys in the office,
yeah.
and then he feels bad about it, so he starts spreading rumors about everybody in the office.
It's Michael.
It's the same thing,
Right,
yeah.
well,
So nobody knows what the truth is. It's the same thing.
That is a very Gavaldic Michael thing.
It's a great show.
All right, what is the conspiracy theories? It's great. We should talk about only conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I don't know so many.
I don't know
Not
so many conspiracy theories.
No.
I want to say that if the Jews control the world, I really would like some of that action. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, I'm Jewish.
yeah.
Like, is there like a dividend or something? Like, do we get?
As far as I've seen, no.
It's not fair. I'll tell you a story. I don't know if this is a good story, but I was a long time ago, I had like a friend in Jamaica States, and I took this dollar van. The dollar van was the van that went through all the bad neighborhoods. So I took this dollar van, and it was a date. So I went with like this flowers, and I was like ready, like what I look like this nerdy Jewish guy. So I get off in this really scary area. it was scary, it was a low income type of place. I get off, and this guy came over to me, very large man. And he is a black man, very large, and he says to me, "Let me ask you a question about the Jews." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "If the Jews were cursed, how come they have all the money?" So I said, "I don't have any money." So he said, "Then why am I talking to you?" And then he walked away.
That's great.
Anyway, that's the story. That really.
By the way, I think we do run the world.
What?
We do run the world,
We do run the world,
but we don't.
but it's not like as a group.
I think what we should do.
We're just doing well.
I think what we should do.
Yeah.
Is take back all the inventions Israel's made,
Yeah.
and then let the world see what happens, and then they'll be grateful for us.
No.
Take back Waze, probably Google Maps as well. It would be lost. People don't remember their houses.
And then they'll be like, "Bring the Jews back."
Yeah,
Nah.
we support Israel now.
No one's gonna say that at all.
What do you mean? They
They'll be like,
created-
"The Jews stole our stuff."
what desalination? In Cape Town, there was a drought,
Yeah.
and Israel offered them a desalination program. And they
Yeah.
wouldn't take it because it was from Israel.
Well-
You literally couldn't go to the bathroom and flush. And they were like, "No, you're Jewish, sorry. We don't want your free water."
Right. It could be that there were corrupt politicians couldn't figure out how to make money off the deal.
Right.
That's probably why they did it. It wasn't anti-Semitic at all. But I don't know if that's true or not. But
I think it's because they're anti-Semitic.
yeah.
The super
It's annoying to me because America and the West, the belief is like, screw the man. Like any person should be able to rise to the top, be successful.
right,
like
but if you be
none of this
successful, then screw
royalty.
you.
Right. But if for some reason the Jews were like, they got really into it. They're like, "Yeah, we can do that." And they got really successful. And everybody's like, "You know what? We didn't mean that. We meant us."
Right.
I don't know.
You know what's funny about that as well is they say, "Screw the man. We want to rise to the top as well." And then they rise to the top, and then everyone else, and then they're shouting at themselves.
You want to hear a
don't
conspiracy
believe it
theory that
anymore.
I have? Okay.
Definitely.
I'll make a new one. I don't know what you said about the man. Sorry.
That's
Cut you
okay.
off. My conspiracy theory, which I'm not sure about, is that there is no anti-Semitism right now. Definitely not more than there was. And everything's on the internet. It's just a bunch of trolls in basements, and there's really nothing going on that's different. That's my theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but I will tell you that I have experienced 0% more anti-Semitism in my life in America. And I've been to all these different areas, and I got 0. I've gotten a lot of support. Now, maybe these people are scared to come to me or something like that, but I wear an Israeli yarmulke.
Right.
I fly an Israeli flag on my car. And right now I don't because they all ripped, but someone's got to make better quality flags. I got to get one that's not from China. I got to get one from Israel. So I have experienced 0 of it. And a part of me thinks that this is all a bunch of bots on the internet, like flaming up fights.
Well, you don't think the protests are true?
I think there's a protest once in a while in one stupid college. And then like that has been happening forever with like liberals and no one cares.
Right.
It's like, I think all the footage is of the same protest 1,000 times. And it's like, nobody cares about a couple of like liberal arts students from Columbia doing nothing.
Right.
And it's like, and then every time that happens, you have some Jewish person have to walk through, just walk around and go to class. Like you don't have to go through, just go to class. They're on the quad, just go to class. You know what I'm saying? Like there's protests about every stupid thing in the world.
Right.
They're caring about Gaza because kids are getting killed in Gaza.
Right.
I don't know. It's a part of me thinks that because it's like my brain is broken all day long. I'm looking on the internet and it's talking about hatred of Jews, and then I turn off. If I wouldn't have a phone, there's no anti-Semitism. There's none.
Right. There's no war either.
No, I'm saying anti-Semitism in the old days. You'd walk down the street and someone go, Jew bastard, Jew, kill him. Bah. They would say that. Right?
Right.
That hasn't happened.
I think people became more scared.
Scared of what?
Scared to say that.
What? They're yelling on the internet.
They'll do it on groups. If they're in a group,
I'm just saying it's on the internet.
Up.
It's a bunch of incels that are like living in their parents' basements. Yeah, it's possible. This is my conspiracy theory.
I like it.
Doesn't make sense, but wouldn't this express itself somehow outside?
Right.
Nothing. In my last 20 years, the only anti-Semitism I've experienced the last 20 years off the internet was 2 times walking through Harlem and some people in Harlem yelling anti-Semitic things to me. Or like the Black Hebrews, that's a group, they're very anti-Semitic and they yell some stuff to me. They stand on whatever, chairs and stuff like that. And they like yell some anti-Semitic things like 3-4 times.
Right.
Nothing in the last decade.
Right. Me neither.
Nothing. No one said anything. I walk around with a yarmulke, fine, nothing. I had this story. We went to Abu Dhabi. This is like a decade ago. We were visiting South Africa then. So Ellie said, like, take off your yarmulke, you got to put on a hat, whatever. You know the story?
No.
It's fantastic. Most embarrassing story in my life. I never take off my yarmulke. My yarmulke is always on. I never wear a hat at any point. So I agree because Ellie was nervous, and I put on the baseball cap, whatever. Not that this doesn't make you look Jewish anyway, but whatever. And I get off the plane, and I'm like just feeling embarrassed about it. And of course, I walk right off, and the first thing I see is a Chabad family with like 8 kids, and the mother's like peeling eggs, and like they got the whole garb on. I never felt shame like this in my entire life. No change of any sorts. The Chabad, they're doing their thing, and this is before Abu Dhabi was fine. Now it's like now they have peace with Israel, whatever, so it's different. But then I like put on a yarmulke and like I put my yarmulke back on and whatever, and like, but there was no anti-Semitism even there.
Right.
Like I was walking around with the yarmulke, everybody was fine with it,
right.
And like I was waiting for someone to say something so I could like get angry or something because I was trying to make up. But I don't know. I'm not saying that anti-Semitism doesn't always exist. It always exists, and I'm not.
You just don't think it's worse now?
I just think it's a scam. I feel like the internet, the algorithms are just trying to throw us into a frenzy, and they do it with everything.
Right.
They do it with everything. Right, left, Jews, non-Jews. Like, what are you doing? Meanwhile, every person I meet is like, yeah, I like Jews. The non-Jews are so thrown off by this whole thing. I keep asking them, like, how many Jews you think are in the world? I've got numbers as high as even the woman who cleans my house. I asked her. She knows the Jews. She's like about 50%. 50% of the world is Jews. Why are we talking about Jews so much?
Right.
What I'm saying is like, I have a part of me that's my own little conspiracy that doesn't believe anti-Semitism went up at all.
Cool.
There you go.
Nice.
That's a hot take.
Makes life more pleasant.
I don't know. It makes me more nervous. Because maybe I'm completely, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make me more nervous. Pleasant. Fine.
Well, if there's no more anti-Semitism, then it's more pleasant.
Yeah. All right. What if you're on top of a rooftop? Rooftop question.
Yeah.
You want to yell something to the world?
By the way,
yeah,
I always believed
that
if you put me on a podium in front of the whole world, I could bring world peace. But everyone needs to be willing, have to have an open heart.
Okay,
I always believe this.
You believe this?
I'm not going to do the whole speech now.
You have a speech?
No. I think I just speak from the heart, But, it'd be like, we don't care that you're Muslim, be Muslim. We don't care if you're Christian, be Christian, let us be, and then you stop fighting. Russia, you have enough land.
So your speech just cut it out.
Basically.
Why can't we all just get
I'm saying
along,
we've been on the earth for 5,700 years. You'd think we could have peace by now.
I would like to hear the speech.
I would like to.
All right, so if you got on a podium, you'd be able to make world peace.
I think so. But everyone needs to have an open heart. Some people are so filled with rage that they can't, or hate, that they're unable to. But if they put that aside and came to my speech with an open heart, I think I could talk them into having peace in the world. I think.
Okay, well, that's not the question.
Okay.
Although maybe it is the question. I don't know.
If I was on the roof,
The
and I could
rooftop,
shout
you
anything
want
to
to
the
shout
world,
something to the world.
does the whole world hear me?
Yeah, they all hear you. The whole world is standing underneath the rooftop.
Well, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, right? Actually, I mean, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lot of pressure. Technically, that is what this is. You're on a podcast and the whole entire world could hear it.
I'm gonna need like a week to think about this answer.
No, you have to answer it right now. We're an hour and a half into this podcast.
If
You don't get a week.
a whole world could hear me, what would I say?
All right, fine. A lot of people could hear you.
Okay, what type of people are we talking?
Jeez, just say your rooftop. Just yeet. All right. The truth is,
If there was nobody there,
the truth is, the podcast is from 1,000 to 10,000 people are listening.
okay.
No pressure.
What would I
just
say
listening.
to 1,000 to 10,000 people?
I don't know. What would you say?
Listen to the Brainstorm podcast by Sonny Perlman.
All right. That's what you want to yell to the world?
That's what I want to yell to the world.
Come on.
What do you mean? I'm bringing you great success.
You would.
Yeah?
Um,
I got nothing good for you. What am I going to shout to the world? Stop fighting with each other.
That's good.
They're not going to listen.
Maybe you should shout. They're not going to listen. They don't have to listen. You're just saying your message to the world.
Right.
You don't have a message to the world? You never finished one of my pods?
This is the end of every one of your pods.
Every single pod. No guest
Wait, what
has
did Chip
ever
say?
known. I don't remember.
I'd say free the hostages.
Free the hostages.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make you feel bad.
Okay.
Because you should say how much you love your wife.
I love
She's listening.
I love my wife.
What do you want to say?
I love you more than anything in the world. More
If
than
you got
anything.
nothing to say, shout out to your wife.
I'm learning from you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Listen, the greatest thing you can say to the world is there's a chance in love.
Listen, you just need to cut out that part that I said free the hostages and put in there I love
But
my wife.
that, hey, you were nervous. This is your first podcast,
It's probably my last as well.
but it's probably your last. If you were thinking this way,
right.
I would say if I
do-
was shouting about my wife at the rooftop, I would say to the world, I'm sorry I got my wife. I'm sorry you guys are stuck with whoever you are stuck with.
Right. I mean,
I already got the best one. You guys can fight over whatever else.
can I
Okay,
counter
start
those
again?
that if my wife stood on top of the rooftop, she wouldn't say I love my husband. She'd say free the hostages.
Would she?
Yeah.
What's with you guys? It's like, no, I'm kidding. I no one's ever done like a romantic thing. I just think if you're stuck, you should go with romantic.
Right.
Free the hostages is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think if there's only 1,000 people there, what are they gonna say? Okay, and then
By the way, it could be someone in Gaza's listening and he's like, hey,
maybe we should. That's a good idea.
free the
I never
hostages.
thought about that.
He's like, I never thought of that. Maybe I should free the
Yeah.
hostages.
What
I
we're
have one
doing
in my
is-
living room.
Yeah.
Gosh. Hey, Chananya, I love you, man.
I love you too.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You have any questions for me? Since no one's listening anymore. I promise you. This has been over for a long time. Sorry.
I don't think so.
You have any questions about red pineapple?
How did it become red?
Red pineapple. I don't know, but it's delicious.
It's not as sour as regular pineapple.
It's not.
No.
A little bit sweeter. It's
I have a question.
yeah.
Why don't people pierce their dog's ears?
What?
Give them earrings.
Why don't they?
Yeah.
I think they would snag.
Imagine Zuzzy with earrings. That'd be awesome.
Sounds
I'm
cruel.
just saying. It's people should.
That's your question?
People should pump out their dogs.
I have so much wisdom, and that's your question? That's the whole thing?
It's
I've lived 46 years.
Sometimes I think about some intelligent stuff, and sometimes it's about piercing dogs' ears. If you would give me one piece of marriage advice, what would it be?
Ooh. Okay. One piece.
Yes.
Stop thinking your wife is lucky to marry you and start thinking you're lucky that
I married her.
that you married her. Lucky. You should feel lucky.
I do.
Not like, all right, you should remember to feel lucky.
By the way, do you know that how I knew I was doing well in life?
Yeah.
It's because I always learned that we marry the person we deserve, and I got to marry the best person in the whole world. So I'm like, I must be doing something right if I deserve the best person.
That's a good
in the whole
indicator.
world. Yeah.
Or you're a great salesman. You just suckered someone who is so far beyond your...
Yeah. She's way out of my league.
And either way, it works.
Right. It worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got her. You convinced her.
Yeah.
Did it take you a while to convince her?
No. It was fairly simple, actually.
You're like, you, meet, let's go.
She actually did say she'd had to think about it.
Yeah?
When I asked out, she's like,
Not in the proposal.
It was the day before Rosh Hashanah, and she's like, I'll tell you after Rosh Hashanah.
No way.
Yeah. Not
Like-
about the proposal.
Oh, okay. Like a discussion.
Proposal, I said, tell me when you're ready for me to propose, and I'll propose, because she told me she'll tell me, whatever. But when I asked her out initially, she said she has to think about it, which I like.
That was the asking out. And she needed a whole Rosh Hashanah to think about it.
Well, yeah. Shame it was her birthday. I ruined her birthday because she was thinking about what she should do the whole time.
Okay. That's a good story. All right, I love you. We're done.
Let's go.
This podcast is over. It's been done. It's done. These podcasts are so fun. I'm just chilling with you.
I know, and I've needed to fart for the past half an hour. So I'm going to do that.
Oh, that's going to be live. I'm not turning it off until you fart. No, I'm kidding.
You should keep that part in. Oh, that stinks.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live anew.